What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Tuesday, March 7th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have an 8-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. So I like Immanuel Quickley from the New York Knicks playing the Charlotte Hornets, who have the second worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Immanuel Quickley has averaged 25.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 28.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.8 times value. He's only 5,000 DraftKings salary. He's 2,300 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227.5 points scored in this game, and Immanuel Quickley has scored 73, 32, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 55, 22, and 22 minutes. And no, this is not a back-to-back after playing 55 minutes. My gosh, that's a lot of minutes. So Immanuel Quickley, even without that 73 fantasy point game because of that overtime, he's playing pretty well. I think he's got a good chance at getting you over 5 times value. Even if he scores his season average, that will be over 5 times value. He has a pretty decent matchup here tonight. So I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more in this one and get you over 6 times value. So I like Immanuel Quickley here versus the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. So I like Josh Giddey from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 9th worst defense overall. They give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards, also eligible at the point guard position. Josh Giddey has averaged 37.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He's projected at 37.8 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 42 fantasy points or more in this matchup, get you over 5 times value. He's 8,000 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel, so I like that price on both sites. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 241.5 points scored in this game, so a super high scoring game here. And Josh Giddey has scored 53, 50, and 50 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 32, 32, and 34 minutes. So Josh Giddey putting up 3 50-plus fantasy point games in a row, still only 8,000 DraftKings salary with a fantastic matchup in a high-scoring game. And Josh Giddey has scored 38, 44, and 42 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Warriors. So I like Josh Giddey here versus the Golden State Warriors. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, if you want to save some salary at the shooting guard position, take a look at Josh Hart from the New York Knicks playing the Charlotte Hornets, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Josh Hart has averaged 27.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 13% usage rate. He's projected at 26.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.5 times value. He's 4,800 DraftKings salary, 1,500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227.5 points scored in this game. And Josh Hart has scored 23, 23, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 32, and 25 minutes. So he's playing plenty of minutes. He's got a fantastic matchup. I think he can score 30 plus fantasy points in this game, get you 5 times value or more. Looks like a DraftKings play only for me. So I like Josh Hart, who has scored, pretty good history here versus the Hornets. He scored 35, 24, 36, and 27 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Hornets. So I like Josh Hart here versus the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. Let's see who I got here. Okay, I got a value play for you here. I like Denny Avdija from the Washington Wizards playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the 3rd worst defense overall, middle of the pack defending opposing small forwards. And Denny Avdija has averaged 23.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He's projected at 23.7 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.2 times value. He's 4,600 DraftKings salary, 1,300 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be, Vegas thinks there's going to be 228 points scored in this game. Denny Avdija scored 34, 2, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 7, and 28 minutes. And he scored 27, 43, 12, 38, and 20 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Pistons. So pretty good player versus team history here. So I like Denny Avdija here versus the Detroit Pistons. Now you could also take a look at Dillon Brooks, who didn't play last game, but it looks like he's going to be good to go here tonight, from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the LA Lakers, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Dillon Brooks has averaged 24.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 28.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 6.7 times value. That projection might be a little high considering his season average is 24.5 fantasy points. But even if he does score his season average, that's well over 5 times value. So Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game. Dillon Brooks missed last game, scored 17 and 26 fantasy points in the games before that, playing 33 and 27 minutes. And he scored 19 and 23 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Lakers. So nothing interesting or nothing special there. But it does look like he's got some pretty good upside here. If he can play 30 minutes here tonight, averaging 0.82 fantasy points per minute, I think he's got a great chance at crushing value. So I like Dillon Brooks here versus the LA Lakers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. Oh, power forward, I gave you Denny Avdija. Let me just give you another value play. This is a high-risk, high-reward play. I didn't have him marked here, but I am going to mention him. Actually, okay, so I'll mention him. Royce O'Neal at $3,500 DraftKings salary. Now, he only played 18 minutes last game, but he played 34 and 23 minutes in the games before that. And he is averaging 33 minutes per game on the season. So just keep an eye on Royce O'Neal. He's got a great matchup here versus the Houston Rockets. At only $3,500 DraftKings salary, doesn't need much to hit value, averaging 23.8 fantasy points per game on the season. So that's a value play, a super low salary value play on DraftKings, who's got a good matchup and potentially some pretty good upside here if he can get the minutes. But let's come off of our value play, Royce O'Neal here, and take a look at a stud that I like on this slate is Kristaps Porzingis from the Washington Wizards, playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the third worst defense overall, give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Kristaps Porzingis has averaged 42.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 44 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's 9,000 DraftKings salary, 700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 228 points scored in this game, and Kristaps Porzingis has scored 53, 51, and 39 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 39, and 35 minutes. So I like Kristaps Porzingis, who scored 31 and 57 fantasy points in his last 2 games here versus the Detroit Pistons. Okay, moving on to the center position, I like Mitchell Robinson. Now, I gave you Mitchell Robinson, I think, a couple games ago, and he put up a dud, but I don't think that's going to happen here tonight. So Mitchell Robinson from the New York Knicks, playing the Charlotte Hornets, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing centers. Mitchell Robinson has averaged 25.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 10% usage rate. He's projected at 27.4 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.6 times value. Only $4,900 DraftKings salary. Now he is $1,700 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227.5 points scored in this game. Mitchell Robinson has scored 33, 14, and 33 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 43, 32, and 25 minutes. And he scored 30, 33, 26, and 21 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Hornets. So great matchup here. DraftKings price is way too low for a guy that's got 30 plus fantasy point upside. And even if he scores his season average, that'd be over 5 times value on DraftKings. So I like Mitchell Robinson here versus the Charlotte Hornets.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.